Selena is ready to die. She's asking for her life to be taken. Leaning over the girl, her humble servant stands nearby. His eyes express bitterness at what he's heard. The guy asks again to make sure he didn't just hear it. Selena stated that she wanted to die without pain. The guy was a little confused at first, not sure what to say to him. What on earth are you talking about? As Selena's loyal servant, He couldn't finish what he started. The girl looked questioningly at the boy. Her eyes reflected mixed feelings. Selena remembered the dark side of this faithful servant very well. She also remembered the excitement he had been in when he chose the death spell. Oh, it's worth noting that he had the craziest tastes in the business. Okay, just forget about the spell, the girl said aloud, deciding that so be it. The blonde boy stood in bewilderment for a while. Then he tried to diffuse the tense atmosphere. He laughed and asked Lady Selena to stop joking like that. Selena did not believe a single word he said, nor a single smile he gave. Well, Selena actually woke up a few days ago. This is the world of a novella called Crown of Fluff. The girl wrote this crazy story for her younger sister who loves this kind of stuff. Honestly, the story is stupid. The author has read it countless times. In her past world, her name was Monica, and her whole life revolved around her younger sister, Amelie. As a child in our heroine's past world, she was adopted by a childless couple. But after a while, they had a child of their own. Unfortunately, the younger sister was born very sickly. The girl's parents blamed Monica for all the misfortunes. The adopted daughter was often left hungry, cursed, and beaten. Monica realized one thing, that from now on her whole life was tied to sick little Amelie. Monica knew everything to take care of her. All of her teachings were related to her sister. The decisions made by Monica's parents were aimed only at the well-being of their youngest daughter. There was no room for Monica's own wishes. Sometimes Monica hated her sister. She had to obey her parents' every command, taking care of Amelie and entertaining her. But seeing her sister lying in a hospital bed, Monica couldn't even hate her. It made me bitter. The sisters' relationship was not good. However, they still relied on each other despite their hatred. It was so complicated that no words could describe it. Everyone realized that Amelie's death was only a matter of time, and so it was. She left the world before her 20s, and that was the end of Monique's work. After Amelie's death, the eldest daughter was thrown out of the house, just thrown out on the street. The girl has no reason left to live. That night, the rain poured mercilessly from the sky. But Monica, who had climbed to the roof of a high-rise building, felt neither wet drops nor cold. For people like me, existing to do the bidding of others, what is the point of living now? She said to herself in despair. Monica was tired of the pain. All she wanted was to be free. Any thought of anything else was exhausting. I'm weak. With such thoughts, the girl took off her shoes and stepped to the edge of the roof. God, there was no turning back. The image of Amelie hooked up to an oxygen mask haunted her here too. But why? Why was it that every time Monica thought of Amelie, she was in so much pain? Did little sister know that Monica had dedicated her life to her? Nevertheless, right now, she had better think about her smile. The girl looked up at the stormy sky with thoughts that just a little more, and everything would be fine. If only she was lucky. She tried to reassure herself with words that everything was fine and set herself up to take the rest of the fateful steps. The choice has been made. I guess this is the end, huh? Or maybe a new beginning? The rain continued to pour mercilessly. Everything in the world was the same as it had been. Only Monica's sneakers remained standing on the roof as a reminder that she had chosen this path for herself. But where did that path lead? To oblivion, perhaps? Maybe a new life. A new, different life. Suddenly, Monica woke up. Doesn't dying hurt? Is she in the afterlife? It's so bright in here, and it smells so good. Monica opened her eyes and squinted against the bright light, but immediately the maid closed the curtains. The room she woke up in smelled of fresh pastries and sweets. Flavored tea and desserts were already waiting in the room on the table. Monica still couldn't understand where she was. There were people bustling everywhere, and a clamor filled the room. Was it too bright in here? Selina raised her head. The girl in the maid's uniform turned toward her in surprise. "Lady Selina, are you finally awake?" she squealed in a voice that was not her own. So now Monica was in the body of someone named Selina, the same Selina from her own novel? It was springtime in the palace park. Roses and flowers of all kinds were fragrant everywhere. The sun was shining its rays all around, bouncing off the jets of the fountain. The news of Selina waking up spread throughout the palace. The girl was asked if she had hurt herself anywhere. Those closest to her worried that it had been 4 days since Selina had fallen down the stairs. But they couldn't be happy that she was finally awake and asked if Selina remembered what had happened. The girl was literally surrounded by care from all sides. The older man stated that he was so worried about her, but at first the girl could not understand who all these people were. Selina sighed and found her voice reappearing. Meanwhile, people she didn't understand were trying to shout at her. She had no time to realize who she was, where she was, or what had happened to her. Tears came to the girl's eyes. The doctor tried to calm the relatives who were sitting by Selina's bedside. He reminded them that the lady had been unconscious for a long time, so it was difficult for her to speak. "What's the situation? Looks like it's time for Monica in Selina's body to lie in bed. This young man is Selina's older brother. His name is Aaron White." The man and woman who looked so worriedly at her bedside were the girl's parents, Duke and Duchess White. The woman couldn't hold back her tears and kept wailing about what their poor Selina had done. The man soothed his wife, trying to convince her to support her daughter with the strength of their love. Well, it looks like Monica really did become Selina White after her death. But then where's the real Selina? The girl hesitated. She certainly hadn't expected such a turn of fate. However, she couldn't rejoice in the fact that she was still alive. So, deciding not to worry about anything, she flopped down on her pillow. There was a knock on the door. 2 smiling maids announced that they had brought my lady some food. "What a little bit?" Selina looked at the dishes in front of her with a surprised look. Yes, there were dishes to suit all tastes, but there was more than one person to feed. Isn't that too much for a sick person? Selina thought to herself. But since she was very hungry, she didn't mind and quickly began to eat the appetizing food. It's been a while. Coughs and other unintelligible sounds came from Selina's room now and then. Yes, after a few days the girl was able to make sounds. She still couldn't speak properly, though. Soon, Selina's parents visited their daughter. Happy that she had finally come to her senses after a long time, they greeted their precious child.
The mom worriedly wondered if her daughter was feeling better already.
Selina stated that she was feeling much better already. The mother's face lit up with a blissful smile. Of course, what could be more important than the health of her own child? Duchessa couldn't be happy that her Selina could talk now. They had been so worried, but now they thanked God that their daughter was okay. The father and mother looked at their daughter with eyes brimming with happiness. She was unable to reciprocate. Of course, Selina was touched, but she couldn't just call them mom and dad like that. The girl realized that she couldn't just pretend anyway. She looked at her parents and asked where she was in a cold tone. "Who are you people?" she added. Selina suddenly remembered that very faithful servant. "Okay, just forget about the spell." The words were spinning around in her head. The girl glanced around the room. Maybe this was all for the best. Selina looked up at the window and noticed the butler. It was like he was talking to her with his gaze. However, he disappeared as suddenly as he had appeared. "Don't you remember? We're at the White Mansion." Selina was brought out of her stupor by her mother. She explained that she and her father were dukes and Aaron was her brother. Seeing the girl's blank stare, Duchess tried again to convey to the girl that they were family. The mother did not lose hope and again made attempts to awaken Selina's memory. She asked if her daughter remembered Lucas or Princess Ariel, or at least her maids. The woman asked if Selina remembered the reception she'd given recently. Ah, yes, something the girl was really starting to remember. Looks like she read about it. Yeah, that's right. The stupid children's novel, The Crown of Fluff. In that novel, the main villain's name is Selena. While Selena was reminiscing, the butler entered, offering the lady tea. This was the man she had been thinking about so often lately. Based on the novella, this is the same child that Selena brought into her home after seeing him beaten in the street. In the story, Selena treated him as her own slave. Throughout his life, he followed her like a shadow. He did whatever she said, but there wasn't a shred of loyalty in him. He wanted Selena dead more than anyone, and he made his dream come true. Isn't he the villain here? He is standing right beside his mistress's bed with a tray. Knowing who this man really was, Selena didn't want to accept anything from him. She and the butler just stared at each other in silence for a while. She then waved the servant away, telling him to leave, and said she just wanted to sleep. "And you go too," she commanded the rest of the maids. One of the girls tried to remind her mistress that she was still weak, but she replied that she was fine and asked her to just leave her alone. Ah, at last those servants are gone. Now we can enjoy some solitude. Suddenly something jingled. A bright light filled Selena's entire room. The sun's warmth touched the girl's body and face. Selena, caressed by the light, wanted to stay in bed longer. She tossed and turned in her bed with pleasure and thought how comfortable it was. Oh, this bed, so soft and cozy. She wanted to just lie here for the rest of her life. The girl's eyes suddenly sparkled. The clear realization finally came to her that she was now Selena, not Monica. In the novel, Selena was a greedy woman. She was jealous of literally everything. The title of Duke, which passed to her brother, was no exception. But she didn't have the intelligence to achieve everything on her own. No matter how many days and nights she spent studying, it didn't bear any fruit. Unlike Selena, Aaron was a fine and intelligent young man. Moreover, Selena's envy grew with every appearance of a talented person in her entourage. Everything comes to an end, and soon the cup of envy was overflowing. Selena sneaks into her brother's business. She got involved with the protagonist of the story, Princess Ariel. Aaron and Ariel loved each other. However, Selena managed to ruin their relationship. Still, all her misdeeds were not without consequence. And one day, this insidious criminal was caught. When the girl was imprisoned, she became desperate. Selena lost everything, became helpless. Everyone turned their backs on her. In the novel, she died behind bars at the age of 23, miserable and alone. That's her story, a short and meaningless life. Thoughts plunged the girl into the story of this novel, but now, more than ever, she didn't want to think about it. I just wanted to enjoy that soft bed and the beauty around me longer. The girl just wanted to rest. She'd been through enough already. Whether she dies or lives, she doesn't care now. She has no hope anymore. Selena was already contemplating the fact that maybe she had been wrong from birth. Being Monica, she ended her life. No, she wasn't indecisive at all. But why did the gods give her a second chance? Wasn't there someone more worthy? Oh, what a nuisance. The intrusive thoughts are preventing her from getting a good night's rest. And the girl just wants to sleep. Angry with herself, she turned away in the other direction. The memory transported her somewhere in the distant past. To that very distant past. To her little sister's room. Amelie's pained look came back to mind. The memory showed more and more pictures from the past, piercing my heart and soul with pain. Selena tried to convince herself that it was just a dream. Amelie's eyes, that's what I can't forget. Her last look was forever etched in Monica's memory. Her little sister died that day, but not a single tear fell from Monica's eyes. Then she thought she had done her duty. She remembered the last time she had touched her sister's haggard, gaunt hand. But for some reason, suddenly in the next moment, completely different images began to pop up in her mind. Selena was on top of them. She was lying on the floor wounded and without feeling. What happened? What happened? It seems her memory includes the last hours of Selena's life. Those hands that desperately grasped the bars. Monica, in her new body, certainly wouldn't want to end up like the heroine of the short story, a desperate voice screaming for help. That Selena hoped that at least someone could come to her aid. All of this came vividly to mind for Monica, who was now in her body. It was as if she had experienced it all herself. Tears, hands covered in abrasions and blood, and a desperate cry, pleading for help and asking for at least someone to stay with her. The cold and stone floor of a faceless, cold prison. Selena was left all alone. Why? She's in a lot of pain. All attempts to get out were futile. No one visited her. The girl was all alone. She seemed to have gone completely insane. Maddened by loneliness, cold, and hunger, she began to torment herself physically. Selena hated those who had brought her to this point. Moments she cursed her abusers. At times, she repented for being a villain. She realized that what was happening to her now was because she had been bad. She begged for someone to help her. And so the days passed. Long, agonizing days in which Selena died a long and painful death. That was until something incredible happened. Being on the verge between life and death, the girl begged for help from the last strength. Looks like her pleas were finally heard from above. Someone's wet feet stopped in front of the prison bars. Water ran down his pants, making a puddle under the unknown guest's feet. Oh, that's Monica. Turns out Selena called her. That's what saved Monica from certain death. Looks like Selena didn't want to die alone. Monica realized that Selena was just as lonely as she was. She wondered if Selena had called her to fulfill her wish. Monica did kill herself. Did she call her to this world because in the last world Monica didn't hold on to anything? Or maybe she just doesn't want to die in despair and alone? Monica asked if Selena wanted to leave the world before her body was completely weakened. Though she didn't care either way. From now on, she will live in Selena's body until the very moment she passes away in her 23 years. So be it. Now lying in a warm and cozy bed, the girl could not calm her turbulent thoughts. She needs to think this through. Well, she's back after all. And we can try to live the life we want for a little while. After all, she had listened to the deceased's last wish. Finally, Selena could just eat and enjoy spring, nature, birds singing, and the fragrance of flowers. The girl was trying to recover faster so she could live her life to her heart's content. But every time she leaves the room, the maids don't let her make a move. They keep pestering her with their questions. The maids literally follow Selena around, showering her with food and attention. Even on the smallest outings, they urge their mistress to take them with her. Selena was sick and tired of being disturbed by the servants. She was tired of asking them to leave her alone. The girl was very curious as to why there were so many servants in this house. Though perhaps it didn't matter. The only thing she knew was that her death would be tragic and unexpected. The only thing she didn't know was when it would happen. And now it was necessary to enjoy every moment. So the girl ate to her heart's content and lay down on the picnic bed. Oh, the weather is just wonderful today. Selena felt like taking a little nap. Suddenly there was a sharp sound as if something had split the air. There was a creak of some sort. Selena opened her eyes and looked around. The girl listened for a moment. What if there was someone here? Anyway, she's the Duke's daughter and this is his residence. So she's the boss. So we can just go back to sleep. With these thoughts, Selena, after calming herself down, closed her eyes again. But why is it so noisy? What the hell is going on? The girl stood up and looked around. Selena furtively crept past the bushes, moving in the direction the sound had come from. The creaking could be heard even closer. Oh, it's finally clear what the source of the strange sounds was. Wow, a fine young man was deftly practicing with a sword. Isn't there a practice field? The muscular guy was strong and agile. His swordsmanship was at a high level, beautiful and magnificent. Every movement and swing of the weapon was simply fascinating and eye-catching. Selena froze for a while, watching this training session. The guy was doing lunge after lunge. Selena wasn't quite sure why he chose to exercise his sword in such a place. She turned around and crawled towards the place she had come from. She turned the other way and crawled back to where she had come from. Suddenly, Selena had to stop. What had delayed her? Looks like her hair got caught in a tree. Oh, what bad timing. Ah, well, why was her hair so thin? Selena was desperate, but maybe this was all just a plot twist. Selena tried to untangle her hair, but as luck would have it, it tangled even more. What the hell is this? This is bad. There wasn't even anyone here to ask for help. Well, she has no choice at all but to ask that muscular, handsome man for help. Excuse me, I'm here? Selena called out cautiously. The guy turned around warily. He looked around, trying to locate the one who had called him. He put his sword out, preparing to attack if necessary. And then Selena decided to raise her voice again. She called out to the boy from under the bushes. Toth furrowed his eyebrows. Then he put the sword in front of him again. The guy bounced off the bushes and slowly backed up. Selena looked at him sadly, not understanding the reason for his reaction. She'd just called out to him. He seemed to be gone. Selena looked disappointedly at the empty clearing where she had just had such a powerful workout. Oh! The bird that had been with the girl all this time suddenly got scared of something and flew away. Selena became alarmed. Out of nowhere, a muscular, handsome man appeared out of the bushes in front of her. Oh, what a surprise! Meanwhile, the butler was sitting quietly on the veranda outside the house, eating the cake with pleasure. He mumbled something to himself, saying that he would never tire of this cake. As he took another bite with his spoon, the butler suddenly stopped himself. He suddenly remembered his mistress. He didn't know where she was or what she was doing. He could only hope that nothing had happened to her. He didn't worry for long, though, and began to eat his anxiety with a delicious dessert. At this time, Selena was still lying under the bushes when the warrior approached her. He was surprised to find Lady Selena under such circumstances and in such a strange place. He bowed and apologized for not noticing her earlier. Selena replied that she was fine and asked him to help, explaining that her hair had gotten caught in the branches and tangled. The boy looked at Selena in bewilderment and thought for a moment. Realizing the nature of the problem, he grinned. After a second, he was unstoppable. He just couldn't help himself and laughed heartily. Selena didn't understand what was so funny about all of this or why he was laughing. The guy coughed awkwardly and tried to hold back when he saw the lady looking at him. Selena thought about the fact that she recognized the handsome man immediately. She remembered that he was the Duke's personal knight, and he was also the main character of the novella. However, she still couldn't remember the name right away. Something with an L in it. Mr. Lulu, Selena addressed the knight. The guy replied that his name was Lucas. Selena asked Mr. Lucas for help, reminding him again that her hair was tangled and she couldn't move. Lucas clapped himself in the chest. He stated that he would be happy to help Lady Selena White. Thank you. The girl stretched out and froze in anticipation of rescue. Lucas began to run his fingers through the girl's hair. Selena looked at the handsome boy and dreamed. The knight used his fingers to gently work through each tangled strand, making sure that every hair remained intact. The long procedure had tired the girl so much that she was already starting to yawn. Suddenly, memories began to disturb her again. Images bursting into her memory. She remembered the same guy telling Selena that she wasn't worthy of the title of Duchess. After a while, Selena was already enjoying the spring. The girl looked around at everything around her and never tired of marveling at what a beautiful day it was. And it's a beautiful day. And Selena herself is just beautiful in her new body and in her new life. It felt so good to remember the events that had happened to her just a few hours ago. Those Lucas eyes, God, they're both sad and haunting at the same time. And his velvet voice. How special the name Selena sounded from his lips. It is perhaps worth noting that the youngest daughter of the White family turns 19 this year. This lady is known for her greed. All members of the White family were characterized by equanimity, restraint, but not Selena. This young lady had been striving since childhood to get all the power in her hands. As soon as she learned that her brother would inherit the duchy, the girl vehemently declared that she too was worthy of the title. Selena constantly mocked Princess Ariel, who was rumored to be set to marry Aaron. If the wedding had taken place, Aaron would have gotten not only the duchy, but also the throne. But all her antics were overlooked. The Duke's cronies were well aware of all Selena's deeds. Lucas, too. But as long as Princess Ariel lets her get away with it, everyone stays calm. Lucas knew that Selena was unworthy of the title of Duchess. He knew, but he couldn't take action yet. And yet today, Lucas couldn't help but notice that Selena was acting differently. He had already heard that the lady had lost her memory. However, he wondered if her character might change from that. Is this the lady who's always creating scandal and gossip? I don't think the ducal family's reputation is at risk in this situation, Lucas thought. Maybe the memory loss will be good for this girl. At last, the knight had accomplished his task. He untangled Selena's hair. "My lady, it's done," he stated. The girl looked gratefully at her savior and thanked him heartily. The boy smiled and literally glowed. Yes, he really had never seen Selena like this. Lucas is a straight-up hero, Selena thought, looking at the guy. However, she knew for a fact that Lucas liked Ariel in the novel. On a snowy winter day, 19-year-old Selena tricked Princess Ariel. She made an appointment to meet her on a snowy road on behalf of Aaron. The princess was already freezing when Lucas happened to be nearby. After receiving care and support from Lucas, Ariel fell in love with him. Selena is now 19 years old. It's spring outside. The fateful event is a couple of months away. At this point, Lucas only sees Ariel as an academy classmate. Now, looking at Selena, Lucas suddenly wondered if he could improve their relationship with Ariel. One could at least try. Selena suddenly turned to Lucas. He prepared to listen to her. "If you don't mind," the girl said almost in a whisper. She moved as close to his face as possible. It seemed like she was about to kiss him. However, she moved closer to his ear and asked if he would like to be friends with her. The girl thought that would be perfect. After all, Lucas is the Duke's personal knight. He is known for his genius, and if Selena could befriend him, he would definitely be sad at her funeral. To the girl, that would be enough to fulfill the former Selena's wish. For her, she couldn't let this opportunity pass. Well, so Selena should befriend this character and make him mourn this body. It's not much. Well, maybe the really old Selena would have been happy. Besides, he's a hero. The girl closed her eyes, waiting for an answer. Lucas stated that he was sorry and said that he couldn't be her friend. Nothing to be done, then. Without much regret, the girl replied. An awkward silence hung between them for a few seconds. However, those seconds seemed like an eternity to both of them. Selena suggested that the guy go somewhere else. He agreed. They walked along the bushes through some flowering alleys. Lucas sighed doomfully. All the way there, they were just silent. Selena suddenly thought about it. Looking back in hindsight, she realized that she had no friends. From school, she went straight to the hospital to take care of her sister, and so it went on year after year. Her parents wouldn't have let her live any other way. Even when the girl wanted to make friends, she was constantly reminded of her little sister. My parents persuaded me to look at my sister again and again. They tried to evoke feelings of pity, and they constantly manipulated Amelie's state of health. Often the girl was rebuked. She was constantly reminded that she was nobody to have friends. Monica had to apologize all the time. The parents, on the other hand, demanded gratitude from their adopted daughter for even just being able to call them parents. On top of all that, they constantly threatened to throw her out of the house, and the girl had to accept everything. She was very afraid of being rejected and abandoned. Monica sacrificed herself in order to get at least a little bit of attention and love. However, these sacrifices were not worth anything in the end. She vividly remembers the faces of the people she called parents, and all this, even though they kicked her out the door after her sister's death. Now, walking down the alley, she thought it was quite normal that Lucas had declined her offer. She couldn't help but try, could she? Oh my God, what is that? Is that the tower? The sunlight blinded Selena's eyes. She sank back into her memories. As a child, Monica secretly played a game from her parents. She was very popular at the time. Her classmates only talked about her. At first, Monica didn't understand the mechanics of the game at all, and immediately rushed into a boss fight. Back then, due to lack of level and skill, she immediately died. The girl watched the rapidly falling streak of life in despair. The hero she was playing had died. Her interest in the game was gone. Then Monica simply turned off the computer and everything went back to normal. She was experiencing about the same feeling now, a little disappointed. It's worth it to just turn off the computer. When you think about it, it's not that bad. She finally made it. Selena made her way to the very same tower. She leaned against the big bell, smiling. The girl thought that if she rang that bell now, everyone in the mansion would fuss. Somewhere in the back of the girl's mind, she felt sorry. She mentally apologized to the previous owner of this body. Somewhere she realized that in the end, her wish would never come true. To be honest, she wasn't confident enough to make anyone grieve for Selena's passing. She's not even sure anyone would cry if she died. Lucas's reaction was worth it. I mean, he absolutely refused to be friends with her. Selena was a little sad about that. This was probably not the best situation. She was trying to make Selena's life better, but so far she was failing. Hadn't Selena herself told her that she didn't want to agonize before she died? The girl decided to try to fulfill at least that. She decided to try everything she could to at least avoid a tragic death alone. With the thoughts in mind, the new Selena headed for the edge of the bell tower. And now it's deja vu. She's standing almost at the edge of the abyss again. All she has to do is take one step, and it's over. Selena's eyes filled with sadness. However, the girl suddenly realized that the difference between Monica and Selena is that the latter has a loving family. She is cared for and loved like a princess. After all that had happened, her parents were still on her side. At least they mourned the villainous daughter. So if she jumped now, she was sure she would crash to her death. The girl looked down once more to make sure there was enough height. She mentally noted that the place was much better than in her previous life. She's already chosen to end her life twice. Selena took a step. I guess she had no other choice. Meanwhile, Lucas was walking down the alley. All he could think of was that perhaps something strange was going on with Selena. I think it's from that memory loss accident. Maybe that's why she hasn't been herself lately. He suddenly wondered why the lady was alone in such a place. Besides, he couldn't help but be concerned about the fact why she suddenly wanted to be friends. Lucas hadn't wanted to be friends with the Hellcat, remembering her temper. But now, he felt like he'd wronged her for nothing. At that moment, the boy was tormented by feelings similar to remorse. He hadn't expected this on himself. He slapped his forehead in frustration. What kind of feeling was that? In any case, he had already approached that very tower. He looked suspiciously at the bell tower. The boy had a bad feeling. For some reason, he felt like he had missed something important. When he refused his friendship, Lady Selena looked disappointed. Lucas couldn't understand why he felt guilty at all. He remembered her face at that moment. Yeah, she looked like she'd lost the meaning of life. Suddenly, it hit the guy. He turned around abruptly and looked up at the bell tower. Something special caught his eye at that moment. He rushed up the stairs as fast as he could. He skipped up a few steps and reached the top of the tower in no time. Thank goodness he made it in time. Selena stood at the edge of the bell tower window. She was just taking that fateful step when Lucas tore toward her. Luckily, the guy managed to encompass her arm. He pulled her to him with lightning speed. In a second, the girl was already in his tight embrace. Selena didn't immediately realize what had happened. So Lucas was breathing heavily. The boy was trying to come to his senses after everything that had happened. It hurts, the lady said quietly. Realizing what had happened, Lucas suddenly flinched. He took the girl's hand. Then Lucas threw her off of him in some shock. Selena looked questioningly at her savior. "Mr. Lulu," she called out to him, looking him straight in the eye. The boy reminded me that his name was Lucas. Selena wondered if he was following her. Lucas didn't know what to say to her. For a while, they just stared at each other in silence. Selena wondered again if Lucas was following her. The boy looked at the lady in bewilderment. Selena waited for an answer and looked silently into his eyes. Lucas didn't understand how this girl could be so calm at this moment. How could she even think he was following her? Was she really planning on doing something to herself? However, contrary to his thoughts, Lucas simply replied that maybe he was following her.
Did you want to jump because of my denial of friendship? He inquired.
What? Yeah, how could he even think that? In fact, it was true. After his rejection, Selena felt as if her energy was going to zero. But that didn't mean she only wanted to die because of him. Lucas wasn't the only reason for that decision. The girl kept trying to remember the first person who'd turned her down. I think it was Aiden. But by Lucas's logic, if she'd been rejected by a neighbor, would she have jumped off the roof too? Selena wondered for a second what would happen if Lucas accidentally pushed her now. She's still distraught. If you think about it that way, Lucas is a pretty kind and talented person in every way. That's why he's in perfect harmony with himself. He is someone who gives people hope. In any circumstance, Lucas can show himself as a talented and confident man. Perhaps he's the kind of person who thinks suicides are to blame for everything. At that moment, Selena wished she'd gone farther away so she wouldn't be found. But it didn't matter anymore. Pushing her thoughts aside, the girl told Lucas that it wasn't his fault. Lucas inquired if she was sure of her words. The lady's answer was the same. The guy decided to ask why she was trying to jump after all. And what should he say to that, Selena wondered. Why is he so curious? Lucas must think he was helping her, except Selena didn't need his words of encouragement. Are we close enough to talk about it? She asked. Lucas replied that it didn't matter if he was close to her or not. Selena, on the other hand, stated that her actions had nothing to do with Lucas, so he shouldn't feel guilty. The girl emphasized that even if she jumped off the roof, she still had the right not to answer his question. She apologized to Lucas for the misunderstanding. Then Selena stood up and asked the boy to tread first. With those words, the girl turned away from Lucas. Her body ached so much. Selena rubbed the sore areas of her body. If I go into already again, will you do that? Lucas inquired sternly. Does anyone even try to die twice in one day? Selena asked, with irony in her voice, though she could use a moment to reflect on those words herself. Yeah, twice in one day is a bit much. Daring to take a step into the abyss is no easy task. Even though Selena had already made that decision, she still hesitated. If ending her life was so easy, she would have done it when she was 15. The girl headed for the exit. Lucas watched her every step suspiciously. Selena approached the stairs. She hoped that at least there was no fracture. Her body was in a lot of pain. The girl looked down. She didn't know if she could even get down from here. Selena turned around and looked at Lucas, wishing he had decided to go first after all. She couldn't have crawled up the stairs while he was here. Lucas sighed tiredly. With a quick step, he approached the lady. Oh, how unexpected! The young man's strong arm suddenly lifted Selena like a feather. The girl's eyes widened in surprise. You want to help me? Selena inquired without hiding her surprise. Lucas smiled and mused aloud that if he left her here, Selena wouldn't be down until nightfall. He then asked that the girl not go to such places anymore. Selena suggested just leaving her here in that case. These words seemed to shock Lucas. He stared at Selena in bewilderment, not understanding the reasons for her strange behavior. The boy tried to ask what was wrong, but he didn't seem to be very good at it. Selena thought Lucas looked disappointed. Meanwhile, Lucas, holding the girl in his arms, was making his way down the steps of the bell tower. So comfortable, Selena thought dreamily. However, they had been downhill for so long that the girl began to feel an irresistible urge to close her eyes. Selena tried to keep herself in control, but fatigue was stronger. In this unequal struggle, the lady lost and fell into a carefree, sweet sleep. Lucas regarded the girl as he walked. He wondered what she was thinking. Soon he delivered the sleeping beauty to the palace. It was already evening. Lucas was met at the house by Selena's father and her brother Aaron. The father looked very worried. Seeing his daughter in such a state made him even more worried. Duke admitted that he'd been so relieved to hear that Selena wanted to go for a walk after days in bed that he'd let his daughter go without a second thought. Now he blamed himself for what had happened. He hadn't expected his daughter to do such a thing. God, Duke felt like it was all his fault. He felt guilty that Selina had tried to kill herself. The man sighed in despair and began to lose his balance as he clutched his head. Aaron anxiously rushed over to support his father. It seems the Duke has become ill from the shock he's suffered. However, the man tried to pull himself together. Holding on to his heart, Duke quietly reassured his son and Lucas that everything was normal and he was fine. The Duke couldn't understand why his daughter had suddenly decided to do this. Why would she do such a thing? The man touched Selina's forehead lightly. It was so bitter and painful for him to go through all this. Well, why did Selina start doing such stupid thing? Looks like all of these events had one secret witness. The butler had been watching the situation in Selina's room all this time, hiding behind the door. He, like the others, could not understand the reason for his mistress's behavior. Meanwhile, night was already falling. Out of nowhere, clouds began to gather in the clear sky, heralding a thunderstorm and rain. Soon the downpour began. The wind fluttered the leaves on the trees, and the rain poured down heavily in powerful streams all around. Compared to the clear weather during the day, bad weather was rampant at night. A doctor was called in to see Selina. He took a quick look at the girl and asked her what was wrong. "My ass," Selina replied succinctly without further embarrassment or preamble. "Maybe you feel uncomfortable?" the doctor further clarified. But the girl stated that there was nothing wrong with her, except for the aforementioned problem. In that case, the doctor decided to ask the lady why she wanted to end her life. "Why won't your hair grow back?" Selina thought unhappily, looking at the doctor's bald spot. Out loud, the girl replied that she was just fed up with everything. After a little while, the doctor came out of Selina's room. Everyone was already waiting for him outside the room, the girl's family and Lucas. They looked at the doctor, waiting to see what he would tell them. The doctor said that he found no signs of damage. He hesitated for a moment, however, as if intending to add something more. The parents looked at the doctor with particular impatience, letting him know that they were ready to hear what he had to say. After pausing for a moment, the doctor still ventured to say that he thought the young lady had serious mental health problems. He added that still they'd better continue this conversation somewhere else. The rain continued to pour mercilessly outside. At this time, everyone in the palace went to the discussion room. The concerned mother asked the doctor what was wrong with her little girl. Toth stated that when he asked why the young lady decided to jump off the Togo building yesterday, he was told that she was fed up with everything. The man speculated that Selina was probably tired and nervous a lot after her memory loss and from her lack of emotion. The doctor noticed that the girl was acting like she was a doll without a soul. The mother was deeply affected by the doctor's words. She did not understand how such a thing was possible. The woman became desperate and sobbed and threw herself on her son's chest. The father, trying to keep his composure, tried to ask the doctor what they could do to cure her. The healer sadly shook his head and stated that there was no specific cure, and they only had to observe the young lady. He also pointed out that if the lady was pressured and forced to remember, Selina's condition would only worsen. In the doctor's opinion, it was better to give the girl time. Besides, she might have something else on her mind. The Duke just couldn't believe what he was hearing. It seemed incredible to him that everything that had been happening lately. With a puzzled look, the man turned to Lucas. He looked at the guy with a pleading look in his eyes and asked him to protect his daughter. Lucas nodded silently, letting the Duke know that he agreed with his request. Soon the parents left, followed by the doctor. Only her brother Aaron and Lucas remained outside Selina's room. From Aaron's look and condition, one could assume that he was struck to the core by what had happened to his sister Selina. Lucas could see the boy's heartache, but he didn't know if there was anything he could do to help him. However, Aaron himself approached Lucas to help him take care of his sister. Aaron's point was that he would always remain at his sister's side. However, he was afraid that he just might hurt Selina. Lucas patted the boy's shoulder encouragingly. He asked Aaron not to worry and promised to help him. Aaron hesitated for a moment. Lucas was born into the family of an impoverished baron. It was only thanks to the Duke that he was able to attend the academy. In addition, the Duke has set aside a private room in his residence for Lucas. The Duke and Duchess cared for the lad as if he were their own son. That's why Aaron became like a brother to Lucas. Lucas treasured their relationship. Among other things, he knew better than anyone how much Aaron cared for his sister. He also realized, too, how much Selena hated Aaron. Lucas sighed, remembering Selena telling him not to blame himself. Whatever she was up to, Lucas wasn't just going to let it go. When the mistress awoke, the butler was already by her bedside. Selena was annoyed by his presence and turned away, trying to chase him away. "I'm sorry, lady, I can't," the butler objected with a sympathetic look at the lady. Selena was beginning to suspect that doctor guy had damn well told them something about her yesterday. The girl figured they'd sent Aiden here knowing he was the closest to the real Selena. But, on the other hand, is that possible? Doesn't Aiden really want to kill Selena? What kind of intimacy are we talking about here? The girl was worried that while she slept, this butler could easily smash her head in with a rock. The last thing Selena wanted was to die such a stupid death. Selena had no choice but to condescend to allow the butler to stay. She admitted to Aiden that she had no intentions of getting out of here anyway. Selena motioned for the butler to take a seat beside her. The girl allowed Aiden to position himself wherever he felt most comfortable, noting that his legs must be sore from standing for so long. The butler looked at the lady in bewilderment and suspicion. It seemed to him that the lady was already up to something. Aiden replied that he was fine, and his legs were perfectly fine. "I don't believe you," said Selena indignantly, noticing that she was still trying to be nice to him. The girl asked Aiden to sit down again in a commanding tone. The boy was embarrassed by such an onslaught and turned away from his mistress. Then the butler took an uncertain step toward another corner of the room. Still, he dared not disobey Selena and seated himself in the chair that stood not far from her bed. The girl, having achieved what she wanted, plumped tiredly on her soft pillow. What a bore! Selena annoyedly started waving her hands. For a moment, she even thought about the fact that there was nothing interesting in this world anymore. God, she doesn't even have anything to read. Such a pleasure as the internet is not even worth dreaming about here. Even if Selena just wanted to listen to music, she'd have to get a whole orchestra into this room to do it. After going over all these dubious forms of entertainment in her head, Selena thought that she would be better off dead. But there was a catch. Lucas would be watching her all the time now, and of course he wouldn't let her do it again. Well, I guess I'll have to think about finding another way. Honestly, when Selena was planning her death, it wasn't something like, "Wow, I want to die." Turns out, planning her own death and quietly walking away wasn't so easy. Selena shouldn't have such an oppressive feeling, but it just haunted her. The girl suddenly wondered if Selena was thinking about her friends. She tried to interrupt the intrusive thoughts with the fact that all this current Selena was doing was just for Selena herself from the novella. Maybe she'll get a chance to try again. Now Selena decided to just close her eyes and get some sleep. A moment later, she was already sleeping a sound and peaceful sleep. The butler did not take his eyes off the sleeping mistress. He looked sadly at the girl. Everything Selena had been doing lately had no logical explanation for him. He wanted to find out the real reason for it all. The new day illuminated the palace and surrounding areas with bright sunshine. The warm rays were quickly evaporating water from the puddles that had formed after yesterday's downpour. Sunlight broke through Selena's window as well. The girl woke up and noted that this whole reality was very depressing to her. How unbearable is all this monotony? Everyone was hovering around Selena non-stop, preventing her from doing what she'd planned. Aiden stays in the mistress's room all day. His keen eyes seemed to follow Selena's every movement. Lucas, the hapless knight, is also a frequent visitor. Somehow, Selena was sure Lucas was only doing this for another plus in his karma. God, this was exhausting. The girl didn't know what to think of. In one of the most appropriate moments in Selena's opinion, she asked the butler to come out and take a look at the door. The man looked at his mistress puzzled, searching for a catch in her words. Still, however, he had to obey. He walked to the door and looked out of the room, formally inspecting the door. Butler noted that the door had only been polished this morning. Oh, wow. It's already done ahead of time, before Selena even has time to think about it. The girl asked to step back for a moment, and immediately Lucas asked to be allowed to go with her. Aiden, not lagging behind, also offered to keep them company. At least that. Selena decided it was time for a change of scenery. The three of them headed out into the garden for a walk. It was depressing, of course, that she had nowhere to be alone, but it couldn't be helped. The girl thought that the situation would improve at least a little if she calmed down the people around her, but all of them, even after 5 days, did not let their guard down. Maybe 5 days isn't enough time to forget everything? Selena's parents still come and look at the girl with eyes full of tears. At such moments, the girl wished with all her soul that the old Selena would return to her body again. She was completely confused and didn't know what to do next. I wonder if the old Selena ever thought for a moment that she was loved. Why does Monica have to live like this in her body? Suddenly, Selena flinched and stopped. Down one alley, her brother Aaron was walking toward them. When he saw his sister, he immediately called her name. Aaron looked very excited. Yeah. The girl mentally noted that the support from Selena's brother looked pathetic. His brother only smiled demurely and couldn't squeeze out a kind word. He could see that he would like to do so very much. Moving closer, he asked Selena if she was okay. The girl replied briefly that she was fine. The brother said he was very happy about it. Selena mentally noted that Aaron looked embarrassed. The girl was sure that this man sincerely cared for his beautiful little sister. In addition, she understood that he was already desperate to try to guide Selena to the path of truth. In all those 5 days, Aaron had only come to see her once. He looked in on her briefly to make sure Selena had recovered. The brother wasn't upset. He hasn't even shown his nose in all this time. Perhaps Selena should think about it when she has a moment. And so in the park, meeting Aaron, Selena asked her older brother why didn't he go for a walk with her. Aaron was surprised at such a question and looked at his sister in bewilderment. "I'll understand if you don't want to," Selena said, looking into her brother's eyes. The one immediately began to justify himself, saying that this was not the reason at all. "Okay, let's take a walk." Aaron tried to fix his embarrassment. And Aaron. Selena turned to her two companions and asked if they had heard what her brother had said. The girl said that now they could go about their business and leave her alone, arguing that she was going for a walk with her brother. Aaron assured Lucas and the butler that he would take care of Selena and asked them not to worry. That's how the resourceful girl managed to get rid of her annoying companions. Now she and her brother were striding down an alley along a flowering garden. It was a strange walk. The conversation between brother and sister was not going well. For some time, an awkward silence reigned between them. Selena decided to break the silence and first asked her brother how he was doing. Aaron, who hadn't expected the girl to speak first, twitched. Selena asked Aaron if he was doing well, noting that he looked rather tired. The brother replied that he was fine and thanked Selena for her concern. "No," replied the girl. Aaron suddenly hesitated. He was still hesitant to ask the question he was most concerned about. After thinking for a bit, the guy still decided to ask Selena if her memories had come back yet. The girl replied that she unfortunately didn't remember much. Immediately, however, Selena added that some things were still on her mind. "Do you remember something?" her brother inquired. Selena replied that she remembered something, but not as vividly as she would have liked. Thinking for a moment, the girl looked at her brother. "For example, I remember hating you," she said unexpectedly. Aaron was confused by such words of hers, looking at his face. Selena decided that Aaron probably thought she would hate him again. But no, she wasn't going to do that. The girl is well aware that she is now going against the feelings of the real Selena. Of course, if the real Selena didn't have feelings of affection for Aaron, she's not sure she could feel it either. The only thing left inside the girl now was emptiness, despair, and pain, and a sense of alienation. The very thing that is not typical of the real Selena at all. That's probably why she's better than the real heroine of the novella. "I'm sorry for my hatred, brother," the girl said suddenly. Somehow, now she felt like she and Aaron had grown closer. His brother wanted to say something, but he stammered. Selena's words caught him off guard, and he couldn't believe it. "Selena, what are you saying?" he interjected. The girl replied that right now she was sincerely apologizing to Aaron for the past. The brother watched in confusion as Selena bowed her head guiltily before him. Aaron couldn't believe his eyes. He couldn't believe that his own sister would dare to say such a thing. How could it be? Was this really the same Selena he'd known since he was a child? The girl bowed to her brother, waiting to see what he would say to that. Deep down, Selena hoped he would forgive her after all. "Selena, what are you doing?" Her brother tried to stop her. He was afraid that his sister might once again make an attempt to die again. The girl convinced Aaron that all her words were not a joke, and somewhere deep down she was very sorry. Aaron still couldn't believe it. It wasn't exactly his sister's style to just apologize like that. He wouldn't have dreamed it, not even in his wildest dreams. Out loud, however, Aaron thanked his sister and smiled. Walking down the alley, Selena noticed that Aaron was still following her. She wondered how much longer her brother would follow her. Mentally, Selena noted that calling this man brother didn't make her feel awkward, as it did when referring to her sister in a past life. Maybe it's all because Aaron is much closer to her. Her brother moved closer to her sister and stated that for now she was still weak, and it would be best if Selena continued on bed rest. Selena couldn't help but notice that Aaron was so uncomfortable when he spoke to her. He reminded her of the same girl, Monica, who stood in front of her parents, and she had always expected nothing but scolding and insults from her parents. She was always afraid of that. This was happening because the girl just wanted to be loved, but all her dreams were shattered. She didn't know what else she needed to do to keep them from feeling disgusted with her. Besides, she was afraid of how to go on living if she was abandoned again. The girl didn't know what to do. Except the catch is that Aaron is acting a little differently. He wants to be loved, and he doesn't want to be abandoned. Aaron reminded Selena of herself only as a child. Now the girl was thinking about how stupid she had been back then. If she could go back in time, she would take her little self in her arms and support her. Oh, yes, she would be sure to tell little Monica not to get her hopes up. She would try to explain to the girl that no one would love her to the end. I wonder if Selena took Aaron's hands and told him that. How would he react? With these thoughts, she took her brother's hands and asked him to listen to her. Ah, the real Selena was pitiful too. The words of the desperate prisoner echoed in her mind. She remembered how desperately she had prayed for someone to stay with her before she died. I wonder how Aaron could even let this happen in the past. Selena recognized that the former owner of this body was much better than her in that regard. The girl looked at her brother puzzled. "Is it true?" she asked. Without waiting for a response, she told Aaron that she had a proposition for him. Sometime later, in the Duke's palace, Selena's father and mother were stunned by the news that their daughter suddenly wanted to meet Princess Ariel.
Aaron explained to his parents that his sister really wanted to see the princess and apologize.
Her mother wondered in bewilderment what had Selena done that she needed to apologize to the princess. The father noted that his daughter's memory had not yet fully recovered. In addition, he recalled that a few days ago, Selena was behaving rather strangely. Aaron asked if it would be right for these two to meet. He promised his father that everything would be okay. He admitted to his parents that just recently Selena apologized to him for everything. He also added that his sister still doesn't remember a lot of things, but something is starting to become clear. Aaron, confused, tried to explain to his parents what he thought was the reason Selena wanted to meet Ariel. His parents, without hearing him out, declared that it was imperative that Aaron be there for his sister. Of course, the guy felt that way himself. Castle, Princess Ariel. Selena had shown up to visit the princess after all, and now they were having a friendly conversation at the table. Ariel Franklin, Princess of the Empire and Aaron's lover. Over a cup of tea, Ariel was surprised to hear that Selena wanted to see her. With that being said, she apparently wanted to know the reason why such a guest had come to see her. It is worth recalling that the Princess of the Franklin Empire, she is also the protagonist of the novel, Ariel Franklin, Now that Selina had seen the princess with her own eyes, she noted that the girl really did look like the main character. Ariel also sat next to Aaron. What a cute couple. They looked so much alike, like husband and wife. Selina felt as if they were really meant for each other. Now the girl couldn't believe that being the author, she had made Aaron only a minor male character. Why was that? Looking at the couple, Selina noted that they looked like Sid and Nancy. Yes, perhaps that could be a reason to ruin their peaceful life. At least that could be the case on the part of Selina, the former owner of this body. Aaron, that Ariel seemed as cold as ice to Selina. In her eyes, they looked like rabbits, always fidgeting, writhing, and not knowing where to start the conversation. Selina stood up abruptly from the table. Bowing, the girl offered her sincere apologies to Princess Ariel for her undignified and rude behavior. Mentally, Selina adjusted herself to always be friendly and apologize politely. She realized that if she wanted to live in peace with everyone, she should behave like an adult. Princess Ariel froze in surprise. "What are you doing? What nonsense, Lady Selina!" the princess exclaimed. Aaron, on the other hand, was only thinking that no matter how much Selina would do it, he still couldn't get used to it. Seeing that Selina had a new speech prepared, Ariel stated that just a nod would suffice, and asked if Selina was okay. Putting her hand to her heart, the girl replied that she does intend to get better. She also added that she will ask for a blessing for Ariel and Aaron. Ariel was touched by this speech, but still couldn't believe that Selina could say such a thing. Seeing the perplexed look of a confused Ariel, Selina hastened to assure the princess that her words were fully considered and she was speaking seriously. "You must doubt that someone like me has changed dramatically," Selina remarked reasonably. The girl immediately added that she reflected a lot on her life before attempting suicide. Selina stated that even if Ariel forgave her, she herself would still not be able to forget everything. After all, she realized that she had done a lot of terrible things before. Lady Selina said that she would still like her brother and the princess to be happy. Aaron took Ariel's hand in confirmation of his intentions. The princess looked at Aaron with embarrassment. Then she looked at Selina. The princess smiled sincerely and thanked Selina heartily for such warm words. Selina was literally speechless at the beauty of this girl. Princess Ariel is simply beautiful. A new day was dawning. The butler woke up in his room and went straight to the window to open the curtains. Wow! Dazzling warm rays streamed through the window and traveled in glare across Aiden's beautiful body. A few minutes and the man had dressed his beautiful body in a strict butler's suit. Another minute, and he's already wearing shiny, polished black shoes. Aiden then put on his usual tailcoat. And to top off the butler look, white gloves were a must. Wow, the image is complete. Even in the butler costume, Aiden looked absolutely gorgeous. It was customary for all attendants to congregate in the main hall. Victor, the chief personnel manager, told the servants to disperse to their stations and get to work. Everyone began to disperse, and suddenly the mustachioed leader called out to Aiden. Victor noted that Aiden hadn't been hit by a mistress in a while. The boy replied that ever since Selina had lost her memory, it was as if she'd been replaced. Some of the other servants began to praise the butler, saying how well he had done. One of the maids thanked Aiden, pointing out that no matter how hard they tried, they'd never been able to avoid Lady Selina's wrath before. Words of praise poured in on the butler from everywhere. They thanked him and said they had never seen anyone like him before. Aiden was also told that no one could replace him. Butler embarrassedly tried to wave off his coworkers. Then he did smile and thanked everyone for their kind words. To one girl, it still seemed strange that a person could change so drastically after losing their memory. Aiden saw some meaning in those words, the man thought for a moment. Victor told everyone to calm down immediately. He reminded them that as servants they had no right to invade their master's privacy. He commanded the servants to get to work without further ado. Yeah, Aiden kept thinking about how the man was really unlikely to have changed so much simply because he'd lost his memory. Standing in front of the door to Selina's room, Aiden grinned. Entering the room, he found Mistress in bed. The girl lay thinking about her own thoughts, completely ignoring the butler who had entered. Selina turned to one side. Then she turned the other way. So for a while she fidgeted on the bed from side to side. It was clear that the mistress was clearly concerned about something. The day of Selina's brother's engagement is coming up. In the novel, Aaron and Ariel broke up before the ceremony was even held. Of course, then things would have been resolved if the former Selina had deigned to apologize. But what now? Had the old Selina seen that as soon as the new Selina apologized, the two families had already set an engagement date? Well, for now, Selina decided to hold off on dying. There was no way she could ruin her brother's holiday. Otherwise, her death would be as worthless as Selina's in the novel. Meanwhile, Lucas's voice came from outside the room. Selina invited the man in. "My lady, have you been in bed all day again?" Lucas asked, entering, and smiled. Selina stated that it would be safer if she stayed here. The girl mentally noted that Lucas had been coming to her room every day for 2 weeks now. Noticing Lucas's gaze on her, Selina wondered why he was looking at her like that. The girl realized she had better get out of bed. Somehow she thought Lucas was in a bad mood. Selina thought that if she continued to lie there, she would definitely get hit on the head. The girl stated to the knight that instead of lying down, she could just sit down. Lucas smiled, remarking that sitting around all day wasn't good either. He emphasized that the lady needed fresh air. And Selina got out of it by saying that if she opened the curtains, she could sunbathe. Lucas called Selina an incredible slacker. He asked Riley if one day she would be so lazy that she would forget how to breathe. Selina reminded Sir Lucas that he had, after all, saved her from eternal rest himself. Lucas couldn't take it anymore, and with all his might, he screamed at the mistress. Aiden, standing nearby, didn't even seem to flinch. Unlike Mistress, who was taken aback by such unexpected abruptness from Lucas. Though Lucas himself hadn't expected that of himself. He calmed down and asked his mistress to forgive him for his tone. He explained such abruptness by saying that he was just very worried about Mrs. Selina. Both Selina and the butler were very surprised by such an admission from Lucas. Selina was sure in her heart of hearts that Lucas should definitely be given the Oscar for Best Actor. Yeah, you have to admit that Lucas is a good actor in general. He's a very friendly and polite gentleman with other people. But his true nature is very calculating. He only truly loved Ariel and the ducal family, but Selina was not on that list. But Selina realized that Lucas wouldn't rest until she got up anyway. And the girl didn't want to see him again. Selina decided to give in to Lucas. She thought it would be worth it to go for a little walk and come back. With these thoughts, the girl got out of bed. An incomprehensible sensation made Selina stop a little. The butler rushed worriedly to the mistress. She got up abruptly from the bed and immediately flopped back down. Except for going to the restroom, she spent all her time in bed, eating and sleeping. That's why her legs cramped up. Selina turned to Lucas. The girl didn't know how she should start. She was worried that if she asked him now, wouldn't he nag her more? Then Selina turned to the butler and asked if he could come closer. Aiden jerked in surprise. She asked the butler to help her a little. No matter how hard the girl tried, she couldn't get up properly. So she needed help. Aiden gave Mistress his shoulder and asked if she was okay. Was he an actor too? Perhaps Selina would be genuinely surprised if she knew that Aiden really cared about her. Lucas just watched in silence. Selina, on the other hand, leaned on the butler and thought he was still cute, and his acting skills were a little lacking. Yeah, in her opinion, unlike Aiden, Lucas was a viper. The girl glanced unhappily toward Lucas. She didn't understand why that Selina liked people like him. Clearly, this was mentioned in the novella, but seriously, she was very curious as to why. Selina really couldn't understand it. The girl sank into her thoughts. She thought about the fact that, no matter how you look at it, all people are mysterious in their own way. Now, Selina thought her life was quite perfect. and she wanted to die so badly. She was still lucky she hadn't been reborn as a servant or slave, otherwise it would have been hard to survive. Looking at the butler, Selina suddenly asked his name. He looked at her dumbfounded and asked her what she meant. What's your name? Selina repeated her question. The butler replied that his name was Aiden. So the girl could breathe easy for once. The identity of someone with an A had finally been revealed. Selina mused aloud that the name fit the butler perfectly. The boy looked at the mistress in surprise. At last, Selina felt relieved. She mentally noted that the strange feeling of incomprehensible weakness was gone. Soon, Selina was already strolling through the palace alleys. Mentally, she turned to that past Selina. She'd like to tell her that she's at this moment walking with the guy who betrayed her. Yeah, with the same guy who put her in jail. Now they walked together hand in hand. Closer simply couldn't be closer. From everywhere in the direction of the girl, through admiring glances and exclamations, the maids were discussing what they had seen. They giggled and chattered among themselves, always glancing in the direction of the trio. Anyway, maybe looking at them, someone will think they walk like a couple. Selina has seen many envious looks from people who dream of the same life. Lucas was a man who used his beauty as a tool to achieve his goals. It was enough to look into his eyes and the flat bridge of his nose to fall in love with his perfect splendor, in an instant. I wonder if he's naturally like that, don't you? Even in the short story, he was described as a very handsome guy. But watching his beauty in person is different. It's quite obvious that Lucas is taking advantage of his face. The girl was staring at Lucas and thinking so hard that she didn't immediately realize she'd been doing it for quite some time. Lucas noticed her gaze and, smiling, asked if Selina had something to say to him. "No, definitely not," the girl replied confidently. Oh, and then there's Aiden, his beautiful blonde, millet-like hair and eyes the color of pure jade. Well, thinking about it now, Aiden seems more attractive than described in the novella. But why is he now walking beside Selina with such a horrified expression on his face? She wouldn't have guessed that Auden was now puzzled that she'd asked his name. He is amazed that Lady Selina couldn't even remember his name. In that case, he thought the whole thing was incredibly strange. Selina looked worriedly at the butler with thoughts of what had happened to him. Maybe he should have had something sweet to eat. Their walk continued along the palace alleys, which were mottled with their blossoming spring trees. The scents and fragrance of beautiful flowers filled the air. The lady was walking with two men under her arms. She was enjoying the beauty around her and the spring nature. Suddenly, Lucas said that it looked like Selina needed to move more from now on. The girl asked why. Lucas reminded that Lord Aaron's engagement party was coming up. He asked how worried Selina thought the guests would be if they saw her in such a weak state. The lady replied that in that case, she would try to heed Lucas's advice and walk more often. Lucas added that the lady also meat eats meat. Selina inquired if she wasn't eating well. He ignored her question and advised the girl to eat in a proper posture, emphasizing that she should sit upright at the table. "Yes, sir," she replied briefly and obediently. Selina turned to Lucas and asked him to talk to the Duke and Duchess about it in that case. With those words, she pulled her hand out of his arm. Lucas looked upset at such words from Mistress. Selina told Sir Lucas that that was enough for today. Then she said that she would get to her room safely, letting the man know that she no longer wanted his company. The girl headed towards the palace. She paused for a second and asked Lucas not to act like that anymore. The girl asked Lucas if he thought she didn't notice such obvious things. Selina remarked that it made her feel uncomfortable. She bowed her head slightly in farewell. "Aiden, let's go back to my room." Selina turned to the butler, and taking him under her arm, the two of them headed towards the palace already together. "Not only has she lost her memory, but she's acting like an icebox," Lucas muttered to himself once they were alone. Lucas didn't yet understand why this was happening, but he felt Selina's gaze become much sharper than before, and he was definitely enjoying it. Lucas thought that maybe he could keep an eye on Selina without Aaron and Duke asking him to. Meanwhile, Selina and the butler had returned to the palace. In the palace greenhouse, a tea table was already waiting for them. A teapot and a tray of sweets beckoned to them. Selina was tired from the walk and now decided to relax with a cup of tea. The butler sat opposite and watched the lady in silence. Selina suddenly called out to Aiden. She wondered why the guy wasn't eating and asked if he was nervous.
Aiden excitedly replied that it wasn't like that at all.
However, he couldn't think of a normal answer that would satisfy the mistress. Selina could clearly see that Aiden was nervous. The boy was literally trembling. He was ready to die of stress. Lady Selina approached Aiden and said that she wanted to go for a walk and eat with him. He asked in surprise. The girl stated that he was the best choice, and she felt uncomfortable with the others. He noted that he wouldn't have the strength to protect Selina if something bad happened. Aiden thought Sir Lucas would be better suited for that. But Selina didn't listen to his excuses at all either and asked if he could use magic. Aiden flashed his eyes at his mistress in surprise. "Ah," blabbed. Mistress pronounced and watched the butler's reaction. God, he's already in shock just saying that. His emotions were so easy to read. There was silence at the table for a moment. Selina thought she'd overdone the joke. "What are you saying? Nothing like that." Aiden tried ineptly to justify himself. Selina was surprised that the guy was still going to keep it a secret, though she knew just how long it was going to be. Selina assured the butler that everything was fine and, pulling the plate of cake over to him, offered to eat a piece if he liked it. Aiden looked puzzled at the cake, but he didn't hurry to eat it. Coughing awkwardly, he turned to the mistress. Selina was very curious as to what he would answer her now. Aiden asked how Selina knew it was his favorite cake if she couldn't even remember its name. The girl thought for a moment. She replied that everyone, including the caretaker, cook, and maids, loved gentle Aiden. Selina then admitted that she knew that they brought a cake to the boyfriend when something happened. Besides, it was also mentioned in her short story, right? The butler was astonished at the mistress's words. What was the novelization of the story? In the plot of the book, a young boy tried his best to serve the Duke's family for fear of being on the streets. Yes, and each time the mistress abused her servant. The Duke's servants felt guilty before him, so they often gave the lad a cake from the Lord's table. After remembering the plot of the book, Selina decided that she could use a little something sweet. She broke off a piece of chocolate cake, and she swallowed it with relish. Suddenly, the girl's face changed. Aiden anxiously called out to the mistress.